Here are my rankings of the 34 evolutions in Clash Royale from worst to best. Please take some time to hit the subscribe button down below. If you like this content, it really helps me out. So let's get into it. First, we got Cannon. I think Cannon's actually going to go in A tier just because I've seen it a little less. Not because it's not good. I think it's still the best building in the game, and its ability is great, counters a lot of things, really helps with Swarm. I'm actually moving it to S because it really helps with Swarm and recruits, and that seems to be in the game a lot right now. Next, we got Mortar. Mortar's very good on offense and defense, and it's been a little stronger since the cannon cart got its little glitch fixed. Now that it doesn't switch targets when the shield goes down, cannon cart seems to be a little better and used more. And that mortar cannon cart skeleton king deck is really strong right now. So I think that's why mortar moved up a little bit. Wall breakers, I'm gonna have to put it a C. Still good if you catch someone off guard and they don't have elixir. Wall breakers are almost impossible to stop. So I think they're good in that sense, but they're very hard to use. And a lot of the time, I just don't see you getting much value over the regular wall breakers out of them. Next, we have barbarians. Barbarians are going to be a firm D. I've seen Lava Hound a little more since Spirit Empress entered the game, but that's really the only deck I see barbarians in, and even then, it's barely in Lava Hound anymore. You're just not getting a lot more value out of them over the regular ones. Sure, they live Fireball, but they're also one hit after the Fireball, and it doesn't speed up much like the attack and hit speed per hit, so the rage effect isn't even doing too much, so it's gotta be lower tier first D card for sure. Speaking of low tier cards, gosh, this card is awful. Um, Evo Goblin Barrel. Not Goblin Barrel, Goblin Drill. Don't use this card. It's really easy to defend, and you're just wasting your Evo slot. I think it's honestly easier to defend compared to the regular drill just because it moves around and pauses a little bit, kind of gives you time to put a counter on top of it. And most of the time, you don't even need an extra counter. Your one counter that you place counters the whole thing, and now you have a big counter push. Just don't use this card. Evo Zap. I'm going to put this A tier. Really can't go wrong with this spell. Really cheap. Does a lot of spread damage, which is nice when you see a lot of swarm. It kills cards like Dark Goblin and Princess, which is really nice. Especially because they're being used so much right now. So this spell has to be near the top for me. Our first really big change, Evo Witch. I think I'm gonna have this very, very top of A tier. I could feel the nerf on this one this time. The heal per skeleton was nerfed again, so now it's healing even less per skeleton. And don't get me wrong, very strong card still. I just think you could definitely feel it now. Some of the interactions where it was staying alive, now it's dead. So I mean, unless you could use good counter lane pressure with this card, you'll still get great value out of it, which is why it's top of A tier for me. It's borderline S tier still, but I mean, Valkyrie is also used a lot right now, so that's a great counter for this card. I think the nerf finally moved this one down a little bit for me. Recruits. B tier. Normal recruits, not a good card in my opinion, but the Evo recruits just put constant pressure, and you really can't even leave one of them alone, or else one of them's going to do major damage. So just the fact that you could control both lanes and just put constant dual lane pressure, this card is a little hard to stop. Not by its own, like not on its own, but with cards like Flying Machine, and now Golden Knight's a little stronger, so that Golden Knight Hog recruits deck is really strong right now. So yeah, I think this one. I'm not sure where I had it last time, but this one's definitely in the B tier for me this time. Executioner. It's hard for me to not put A tier. I know it's not used a lot, maybe besides the Hog Rider Rocket deck and that Ram Rider deck, but the knockback ability for me is just huge. It seems like whenever the Executioner is placed down in a lane, it just locks up that lane. So unless you have a rocket that could take it out immediately, this card is very hard to stop. And if you don't have a deck that could dual lane pressure very well and you could just switch lanes easily, this card just locks everything up. So this one's very hard to stop. I think the only thing causing it to be lower than like Zap or Witch for me is just the cost. It's 5 elixir. Same as the Witch, but the Witch at least heals itself back up and the Executioner doesn't. So still a great card for me. And I think I have it a little higher than most people. I think most people will probably have it like mid B tier, but it just seems to lock down an entire lane for me. And that defense just is great value. Next, we have the Evo Archers. I want to put this card top of B tier. This card is very underrated. Um, Especially if you split them. I feel like that's the best way to use them, honestly, because you can't spell both of them down without pretty much using all of your elixir. And as long as one of them is hitting something, the damage is just so good. So this is just a great defensive card, and Expo is a little strong right now, or maybe not stronger than more meta decks, but like it's definitely being used a little more, and it's really annoying in Expo. So unless you like predict them and you're able to make them not do double damage, this card is pretty much always going to get you in good situations. Next we have Evo Bats. It's got to be somewhere in A tier for me. I still want it behind the Witch. I'll probably put it behind the Zap too. Um, these cards are able to be cycled a lot. You're seeing Minor a little more this month, and unless you zap these cards down right away, you're pretty much always using more elixir to defeat them. And to me, that's the perfect use of an evolution. The evolution puts you in an advantage, and it clearly is better than the original card. And the bats being able to just heal up their HP and do major damage in the meantime. It's a great card. I would start using this one if you don't have it. Now here's where I'm starting to struggle because P.E.K.K.A, like I normally have it lower, like C, B tier, but this thing just stays alive forever. And it seems like the more that cards get nerfed like Witch and they're not being used as much, the more this card is shining. Um it's hard against Swarm, and you're seeing cards like Dark Goblin, Goblin Gang everywhere right now. So that's the only reason why P.E.K.K.A isn't like huge like some other cards. But if you get a good matchup with this thing, it's very hard to defeat and really annoying. Um, I've seen players start to use it with Mega Knight. They're starting to use it with Skeleton Giant, who just got a buff. They're starting to obviously still using it with the Goblin Giant. So this card's underrated, and I think the nerf of some other powerful cards has started to make this one shine a little more. I don't care. I don't care who tells me this thing is easy to counter. You just need the right spell. You just need to not be dumb if you can't defend this. No. This card is too strong for its cost and how much you could cycle it. It stops whole lanes. Like, it'll defeat a whole tank and then all the supporting troops behind it in the poison. And I personally think this card needs a nerf. Dark Goblin is strong anyway, and it's already one of the more annoying cards. Yes, you could kill this card strong with spells, but after it dies, the poison is still doing major damage to troops. And to me, that's when a card starts to get a little overpowered. You might ask, like, why is this not over something like the Witch then if you say it's that strong? The Witch could get countered by a lightning. The Dark Goblin gets countered by more like log and arrows. But for its cost, I just think it's a little overpowered at the moment. Fix it, Supercell. Hunter. I don't know where I had it last time. I think I had it in B, but now it's C. I don't know why, but I've seen Royal Giant so much less. And the last nerf to this card really made you feel it. Um, it was a defensive monster, and it's still great. Still does its job as an Evo, definitely better than the original Hunter. But you could feel it. Like the stun effect was a little too much, and which is the same reason why they nerfed the Ice Spirit. So yeah, you're also just not seeing this in much else besides Royal Giant. So I can't move it up to more versatile card, like to other ranks, because some other cards are just more versatile than this one. Kind of the same line of reasoning is why I have the E Dragon lower. I'm going to put this in D, and I know it's low. I know that people are going to disagree with this one. But not only is this card not very versatile, like Beatdown and Golem decks aren't strong right now at all. And even E Golem isn't really strong right now, besides like the Goblin Machine deck. But this card is already expensive. It's already 5 elixir. So I'm spending as much as I would on a Witch or an Executioner. And I'm hoping I get a good matchup because it'll clear up all Swarm. But if I put it on a P.E.K.K.A, it's really not going to do much. So the lack of versatility for this card plus its expensive cost, it's really hard for me to put it higher. Like I would love to put it even C tier, but I just really think other cards, especially like Inferno Dragon, could do a little better right now. I see the Balloon Freeze deck, Lumberloon Freeze, and I think Inferno Dragon does better than the E Dragon in that one. So it's like some of the main decks you might be able to substitute and get a little more value out of other Evos. So yeah, that's why I have it low. Ice Spirit. I'm gonna have to switch some of these rankings because I don't know. I'm not liking Cannon up in S tier over a card like Witch. Might do something like this. Yeah, Ice Spirit's too good to not be an S, but I just don't like Cannon over it. So that's why if I'm gonna keep Witch in A tier, I think I gotta put Cannon below. But the Ice Spirit, you feel it for sure, not doing as much damage. Small interactions like not killing some swarm troops on that second wave is the real reason why you felt it more. But I don't think people are really using this card for the damage. They're using it more for the freeze effect. And unless Supercell nerfs that, this card is going to stay overpowered at 1 elixir. So yeah, right now it's definitely one of the best cards in the game. Speaking of one of the best cards in the game, I don't care if you don't like my rankings. I don't care. This card, too much value. It tornadoes everything in, does splash. Every single time I face it, I want to end the match. I just want to quit already. And if you're playing Beatdown or anything like Hog Rider, all you have to do is put this card behind it and there goes your entire push. Like, it's just so annoying to deal with. And the fact that it's very tanky and hard to kill. Like, you can't really put much ranged troops to defend it either because it's just going to tornado it in. Um, and it's just a counter to some other really strong evos like the Witch. So like the more that I see this card played, the stronger I think it is, and I just can't have it in A anymore. Like another month went by and I think I have to put it in S. And I know people are going to disagree. So, enough said about that one. Next going to be Battle Ram. We'll put you firmly in C tier. I think Battle Ram is just a perfectly balanced Evo. Perfectly mid, not too overpowered, definitely not weak. Little matchup dependent, which is why like it automatically puts it lower. So if you have it in the right deck, it'll give you value for sure, but it's definitely not impossible to beat. And I guess the Evo barbs are a plus, even if you do manage to stop the actual ram. So yeah, perfectly balanced on this one. We got the next F tier. Never use this card in your life. If you're doing it, you're just wasting your time. The ability is useless for a ranged troop. Wizard's not even strong to begin with. No stat boost. Not much else to say about this one. Just a terrible card. Snowball will continue to be S until the day I die. This thing's ability is crazy. The fact that you could just wipe stuff off your tower for decks like Goblin Drill and Graveyard, the Giant Graveyard, like I've seen people get so much better with this card and they're getting troops off the board to get expo locks. And I think this is just such a high skill card. Um, Definitely one of the best abilities in the game. Like it's so versatile. There's so many situations where I think you could get major advantages with this card. And on top of that, it still slows things down. So Evo Snowball, gonna be one of my favorite cards. Now this is the card where I think took a hit. I might put it bottom of B tier just cause like the damage nerf to the decoy goblins, like at least for me personally, has made it way easier to deal with bait just cause you could kind of leave them a little more alone in certain situations. Like I feel like before if I left them alone and they get a few hits, they're taking my whole tower. But now I feel like if I'm ahead in damage, then there are situations where I could just leave these things alone so I'm not overcommitting to the entire goblin barrel and it saves me a game. Still strong though. Good bait players are always going to get value out of this. So if you really learn how to play bait and that's the archetype that you like playing, by all means go for it. It's not a bad Evo, and some of the best players in the world still get top 3, top 5 with this card. So it's just definitely a higher skill card to play. This is still underrated to me. I don't know why more people don't use this. Probably because of Swarm. All right, yeah, no. You're right. Okay. Just correcting myself over here. Cage is definitely underrated because it could stop entire pushes. Tanks just get destroyed with this. And if you're not expecting it or you're not keeping track of the opponent's cycle when it comes to their Evo Cage, then your push is dead. And not only is your push dead, you have a huge counter push coming because that goblin is on top of it too. Um, but yeah, if you have Swarm, especially with something like Goblin Gang, this card is, or this Evo at least, isn't going to provide you value over other Evos. Still a good card, and obviously you have the Brawler that comes out of it, but it's slower because if I'm using Evo slot on this, when maybe I could be using a Cannon, which is just a better building. Um, it's the reason why I have this a little lower, but I just think it's one of the more balanced Evos, which is why I have it in C tier. I hate this card with my entire existence. I'm putting it in B tier because I have to, not because I want to. but this card's annoying, and it seems like you just place it at the bridge and get major damage. I just hate that entire decks could be formed around keeping this thing alive instead of just playing the game. But at the same time, like, it's the same reasoning I have with Dark Goblin. This thing can get killed with arrows, and it's not like it leaves this huge poison cloud after it dies. Um, so yeah, it's also not used in like very many decks, and the decks it's used in, it's usually the only air defense card. So this deck is like the decks it's used in is definitely beatable. And the recruits deck especially, you have a poison, you're killing the firecracker plus a whole lane of recruits with a poison. So this card is more counterable in my opinion than the Dark Goblin. Musketeer, another balanced one. It's very situational. If you get a good snipe, you could win the game off the bat. If you need a normal musketeer and it's sniping a skeleton, you could lose the game off the bat. So, mixed opinions about this one. I just wish you could use it in more. I like the ability. I think it's a cool ability. Just not as versatile as some other cards. Tesla, in my opinion, also underrated. Like, I don't know why it's not used more. I mean, I'm gonna put a top of actually, yeah, I'm gonna put a top of C tier. The zap ability, in my opinion, is good, especially with how much like recruits you're seeing. Bait. I don't see how it's a bad card. I just think that other buildings are fitting in with more archetypes lately. Like you're definitely going to use Cannon more than you use Tesla in the Hog EQ decks. Um, I just wish there were more decks right now that found Tesla as like the cornerstone building, because then you'd see this card shoot up a lot more, like we saw in the past. Next, we have Mega Knight. I think it's another balanced one. Um, I think my reasoning for having it lower than some other people might have them is just because I think he lets you form huge counter pushes. He knocks things back, and you could just keep building up troops. And once the Mega Knight dies, now you have this huge counter push going toward your tower. And for me, just the disadvantage it could put you at outweighs the potential benefit of the knockback. So, situational again. Most of the situational cards, in my opinion, are balanced because they have decks that could counter it. They have decks that they could easily beat. To me, that's what makes it balanced. It still provides value over the normal one. Perfect C tier card. Knight is not falling out of A for me. Um, perfect tank. This card seems to never really leave the meta. You could kind of replace him for any tank you have, and the deck will still be good. So, yeah, you get a lot of cycles of it throughout the game. It's very strong in graveyard right now. So, great A tier card and just the ultimate tank if you need a replacement for anything. Just never a bad use of an Evo slot, is what I'm saying. Next is, dude, this one has been rising on my boards too. I have to put it in same tier as Pekka. Just seems strong for some reason, and I'm not really sure which nerf like did it, but I mean it's not hard to counter, which is why I have it like very bottom of B tier. This is more bordering C tier for me, but I mean I guess that's the reason. If I think Pekka got stronger because of the nerf to some of the other cards, and this is mainly being used with Pekka, yeah, this is gonna feel stronger. But besides that deck, you're not seeing this used in other main decks right now. So I'm so tempted to put it just top of C tier, just for that very reason. Like, I can't have it right next to the firecracker. So I'm gonna put it C tier, but just know that this is like borderline B tier, and that P.E.K.K.A deck just seems to be getting a little stronger. Dude, I lose to this card so often for no good reason. I just don't think I'm used to the fact that, like, if I'm half a second off now, the tower doesn't kill it. It gets killed. So, yeah, maybe bad gameplay on my part. But this card is just another defensive staple. You could see kind of the trend with the lower A tier cards like the Executioner, Inferno Dragon. They could kind of just stop full pushes. And people are like, yeah, like Inferno Dragon can't really deal with Swarm. One, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be with the Evo now. And all you have to do is pair it with cards that can kill Swarm. And now all of a sudden it's getting a lot more value than people said it was going to get. So I just think it's a great card right now. Obviously, still has the same counters, but you're definitely feeling the counters that went away. Like you can't kill it with a snowball or a fireball anymore. So great card. Wish I was better at using it. Bomber D tier for me. I'm gonna have a top of D tier though. Um, it's cheap. You could get it down a lot. I think the ability is even good. I just think that there's other cards right now that are more useful to use in place of it. I think Dark Goblin, Firecracker, even archers in certain situations. Um, as more evolutions are coming out, the bomber seems to be getting a little weaker. And I've seen it in a good few decks, but to me, it just feels like the normal bomber instead of an Evo, which is supposed to be doing so much more. Got the new one, Skeleton Barrel. Think I'm gonna put it near top of C tier. A lot of people have been saying this is really strong. If I mean the death damage, if it gets to tower, is really good. I think that definitely needs a nerf. So you could feel that for sure. I think it's definitely better than the original. But to me, it's still a little bit too easy to counter. Like if you have a witch or an ice wizard or some sort of swarm countering card, it just feels like it gets defeated the same as the regular one, even with the second round of skeletons coming. But for that reason, I think it's very balanced. If you get it through, it does way more than the original. But a card that still has counters, I think, is good for the game, and I'm glad they didn't release like a completely overpowered new evolution that they're gonna have to nerf to the ground in the coming months. Skeletons. I don't know. They've seemed weak to me lately. You can't really put them below B tier ever just because they're one elixir, and if left um I guess undefended, they do great work on defense. I'm not even talking about offense. Like most of the time, like they're not really going to be getting to the tower. But if you have to push really hard one lane and then have to rely on these things on defense, they could clear out a whole defense. So it's a little more situational than some other cards. Um, but one elixir evolutions are just always pretty good. So I just don't know if I'd use some other cards, and like I don't know if I'd use skeleton over some other cards, which is why it keeps it a little lower. And it seems like as more evolutions come out, this one gets a little lower too. So we'll see how this card's affected in the future. But yeah. Lumberjack. I think this is another balanced one. I like the Lumberjack. The ability is really cool. It's really unique. Um, but kind of the same as all the other C tier ones. It's like situational. If you get in a good spot, it's going to do good damage, good value. If you have like a hard counter, it feels the exact same as the normal lumberjack. So, balance card, I just think you have to, it's a little more skillful in my opinion. A well played lumberjack, even without the Evo, usually could do a lot of damage. And if you get the Evo lumberjack through, now it's staying in the rage. Just don't let this thing get close to your tower, or else it's tower down. The last one we have is Royal Giant. It's still strong. I think it's on its own as an Evo, very strong Evo, so I have to put it in B tier. Just the Royal Giant decks itself are kind of falling out of the top 200, so you're just seeing it less. And because of that, it falls a little bit. But yeah, this thing has so much HP, and if you don't have any sort of ranged troop or tanky building that could distract it or destroy it, you're always going to get value on this one. You just can't place Swarm right on top of it. But I don't know. I'm starting to see a lot more balanced evolutions, I feel like. I feel like I have a lot more in the C tier, B tier now, and definitely less in the S tier. So I'm liking the direction of the Evos and the fact that they're not all extremely overpowered. But yeah, these are my rankings. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Please make sure to like and please subscribe again. It's really helping me out and I appreciate it so much. Just let me know if you like my content and let me know if you had anything different than me. So yeah, that's it today and make sure to tune into future videos.